Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farmer, the podcast. I'm your host, Jace Young, and today's topic of discussion is this: when is enough enough? Now, guys, what I want to talk about today is more of one of those just challenging and difficult things that we all have to go through, and some of those difficult things that we have to face, some of those just challenging times in our life to where we have to own up to what we've done and the results that we've created, and just really take a new look at where we're at and where we want to go, and if we're really on the right path. Now, it seems like over my life, I've consistently had these experiences come into my life, so I'll use some examples here to kind of set the stage here for what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about your body and fitness. Most people in this world are not happy with the way they look, right? When they're, have their shirt off in front of the mirror, things like that, right? But a majority of people, though, just continue to kick the can down the road, right? Or we get into these New Year's resolutions and we work out for like a month or 2 months and we change our diet and nutrition and things like that. And then we ultimately go back to our old habits, our old space of comfortability that we've lived in for a long time. And that's just the place where we're comfortable. So that's where we want to be, which I completely understand. And guess what? I'm a victim of it just like everybody else is. But the thing is, though, is that you have to get to a point, and it seems like everybody gets to a point in different stages of life and underneath different disciplines, whether that's body or being, and your connection with God, or the stories that you have up here, balance and the important relationships in your life, like your, marriage, for example, your relationship with your kids, and then business, where you're at with your finances and where you're going for the future inside the business. We all have to get to a breaking point, right? Or not even a breaking point. We have to hit a rock bottom in one of those areas there before we finally spark some new action. And the question for you is, whatever side of your life right now that you continue to kick the can down the road, you continue to just ignore things, and you play this story in your mind that, hey, everything's fine, I'll be fine, everything's great, it's going to work out, and that type of crap there. But deep down, there's changes that need to be made. There's faults that you have. That living your life this way, again, across any one of those disciplines or any part of Core 4 that we call it, there's got to be changes, right? That if you continue down this path, where it's going to lead, but yet why do we continue to run and hide, right? Or try to pretend that it's not there, kick the can down the road. And the thing is, when we're looking at that, for me personally, I have to start looking within. I have to start challenging internal beliefs or internal stories or internal trauma, to be honest, right? And you have to start doing a lot of personal work. And that's where I feel like the answer is for a lot of these things here. We have to hit rock bottom in certain areas of our life in order to force us to turn internally and start doing the actual work that we need to do in order to break away from those habits. And the thing is okay, how do we make the changes that we want to make in our life before we hit rock bottom? And this is the painful thing, and this is where it just gets, it honestly, it hurts a lot of people, and myself included. But back when I left the banking industry, most of you guys know my story. I struggled for 3 years. There was 3 years, guys, of absolute grinding, not knowing if I was going to be able to make payments just for bills or my mortgage, not knowing if I was going to be able to support my family. And I got to a point to where I finally had to hit rock bottom financially. Now I look back at that journey and I asked the question, why did God put me through that? And this is, 5-6 years ago now, but I completely understand why he had to put me through that, because I was still trying to hold on to that version of myself that was used to comfortability, that was used to just trying to take the easy way, right? Or used to not confronting their own demons, or not confronting their own faults, or just trying to kick the can consistently down the road and having a New Year's resolution every single year that only lasts for a month or two, and then you just start the same shit over again. I feel like God has to put us in those moments and in those times to force us to actually finally wake up and be willing to finally transform, be willing to finally change who we are, be willing to finally let go of who we've been. And this is tough, guys, and I totally get it if you're struggling with this right now. The thing is, though, is that the struggle doesn't stop, right? Because as you transform, right, the person that I was back in 2016 is not the person that I am right now. The person I need to be for my goals that I have by 2030 is not going to be the same person I am now. I'm going to have to evolve. I'm going to have to grow. I'm going to have to own up to the certain things in my life right now that are not serving me, that I continue to kick the can down the road, because even though I let go of the old version of me back in 2018, 2019, and started to do some things differently across every area of Core 4, now I've reached a new level of comfortability, right? And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I'm personally going through this right now, to where it's okay, God gave me a wake-up call in the past week, and it's you have to start making some changes here. You have to turn internally, and you have to start doing a different level of deep work in order to step into this new version, step into this new life that you want to ultimately build. And the thing is like, I have to become a different person to create that life just like you do. But here's the question though. What is the cost to you and your life if you continue to stay where you are at? That is what I have to ask myself. And it's like, it's painful too, because some of you guys, and myself included, we have some bad habits in certain areas of core 4, right? We have some things that we've just screwed up on. And I get it. If you guys are anything like me, I'm the biggest critic of myself out of anybody, right? I am the number one punisher in my life. You know, a guy like me, you probably understand where I'm coming from. I'm not going to speak from a woman's point of view. I just know from my point of view, I am the number one critic. I am the one that punishes myself the most internally for when I screw up or when I continue to kick the can down the road and do things that I know are not going to serve me long term. I will punish myself mentally for that. But we have to go through that in order to get us to a point, hopefully that breaking point and not a rock bottom point, to where we are ready to make some shifts in our life. And you have to sit here and you have to consider, just like I do, what is the cost to you, your future, your family, your financial well-being, like all these areas of your life here. What is the cost if you continue just to put up with the same shit you've done time and time again and not make the changes that you know you need to make that will serve you and help you get to where you want to go? Yes, when you do make these changes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Yes, you're going to have to face some demons. Yes, you're going to be exposed as some of the faults that you have inside of your life here. But guess what? When you step into that truth, everything changes. You have nothing to hide anymore. So now you can finally give yourself permission to do what needs to be done. And this is tough, guys. Like this is, I'm speaking this right now, but it's like, it's hard to live through it. It's so challenging to mentally just battle with what's going on up here and letting go of that old version of yourself that you've become so comfortable with and those old habits and stuff like that. But you have to get to a breaking point where you're like, hey, I'm tired of this shit. Like I'm done with this. I am absolutely done. I can no longer continue to abuse my body, for example, the way that I have been, or not to do the things that I need to do in my marriage that I need to be doing, which for me, as I'm constantly learning in that, I have a wife and 4 daughters. I am constantly learning about my faults in that place and understanding and having to really just challenge the way that I think about life, because guess what? Each one of those women in this house have a different viewpoint on life than I do. Different things mean different things to them than what I would take them as meaning and things like that. So I really have to open up my perspective. And it's like God continues to kick me in the face over and over and over again, trying to wake me the hell up so that I can evolve and grow in that area of my life. And the same thing in business, guys. And it's the same thing for all of us. But anyways, I share all this with you, not to try to hurt your feelings or anything like that, but try to give you a wake-up call on certain areas of your life that you know need to improve, and you know that the habits you have in that side of your life right now are not serving you and getting you where you want to go. The question is, it's really 2 questions now. What is the cost of you staying the same? Number 2, what are you willing to do about it? The thing is, it's like, man, what if? What if you make these changes? What if you start doing what needs to be done? What if you start making these changes and accomplishments and you start fighting all these stories and things that have just held you back for years, and just fully, for the first time, like finally allow yourself to step into who you were meant to become and start going down that pathway? And this is not an easy question. It's not an easy answer. If you're listening to this podcast, it's probably something you're honestly going to think about for a couple of days. And I hope that's what happens, because this is where transformation happens. It seems like God has got to put people into my life to speak a powerful message, to wake me the hell up sometimes. And sometimes I have to be the messenger as well. And I hope I'm being that to you inside of this podcast. I hope this is serving you and getting you to think about, okay, what areas of my life am I not doing what I know needs to be done? And I know it's holding me back. And then the second question is, what's the cost going to be to me if I continue living this way? So my friends, that concludes this episode. I hope you found it powerful. I hope it made you think about your life differently. And we'll catch you on the next episode.